Good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another DVT Insights session. I'm really excited about this one. Today we have Valerie Waterschoot from Algolia joining us and talking to us about an absolutely critical function in your e-commerce and online presence. That is the value of search, a key part of user experience and a key functionality that really makes a difference to customers in terms of how they get to what they are looking for. Valerie represents Algolia. We work as a partner with Algolia in terms of the provision of the solution in e-commerce sites and other implementations online. And it's something that, as having had the privilege of seeing it from Valerie's side, it's absolutely impressive in terms of what it can bring to the user experience and customer experience as a result. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us today again and bringing all that world of knowledge and sharing that with our users and our guests that will be viewing this.
Thanks a lot, Carl, for the nice introduction. I'm delighted to be here, and thanks for having us on one of your very interesting DVT sessions. I think you did the introduction quite well. So as Carl said, I'm responsible for the existing and the new clients within Algolia. I'm based out of Amsterdam, the Netherlands, but I'm also responsible for South Africa. So I'm quite familiar with the South African market and within the whole e-commerce space. So I'm super excited to be sharing some key things that we've seen the last 2 years when it comes to e-commerce and then search and customer experience specifically, because as everyone knows, the market has been evolving quite rapidly over the last year and a half. We've seen ChatGPT, OpenAI, a lot of new technologies arising over the last year. So yeah, we're super excited to take you on that journey today and give you a little bit more insights into some of the numbers and some of the insights of other retailers across the region.
It's one of those hot topics at the moment, Valerie, in terms of how to make that impact happen on the customer experience side, how to really bring your sites up to that level that people now expect of places like Amazon and eBay and others. So again, for those that haven't seen Algolia, you're in for something today that will really get you excited.
Exactly. And we see that ourselves as well, right? If you're sitting on the couch in the evening and you're opening Netflix, you expect Netflix to give you accurate recommendations on what you're looking for that evening. So that's really where we see that these companies like Netflix and Google, they're upping the experience of consumers. And that goes for different verticals. So that's for B2C, but also within the B2B market, we see that expectations are actually getting much, much higher. People expect a relevant experience across any touch point, whether that's in the store where you want to have a good experience with the sales associate, but also with digital touch points, as well as mobile app on the website. So really that omni-channel experience and being able to tie everything together. So we've obviously had Black Friday last month. So that was a key period, I can imagine, for a lot of the retailers. So there's a lot of interesting things that we've seen there. One of the interesting things from the past Black Friday was that we saw that actually the average order value of orders that people are placing have actually increased, but that the number of transactions are not as high as they were before. But it's really a big opportunity on increasing the average order value or basket value, as we call it. So that is something where a full end-to-end discovery experience can help to make sure that people are finding complementary products, that if their basket size is not high enough to have free shipping, that they are being suggested with other products that can help them in elevating the products or the basket size, for example. Now, if we dive a little bit deeper into the search component, then there's some interesting stats that we've seen. One is that actually people that use the search bar convert 3 times higher than people that don't use it. And that is also one of the reasons why Amazon made major investments in their search experience. What they see is from those investments, they are able to uplift their revenue with about $800 million, which you can imagine gives them a huge competitive advantage. Now, tied to that is also the fact that about just under half of the people that come onto your platform they have the intention to go to the search bar straight away as a point to find relevant content. So that is really, it's a little bit the chicken and the egg. We see that if the search bar is not working, people are actually not using it, and this number will be less lower, which then affects the conversion rates, obviously, because you see that if people are able to use the search bar effectively, search conversion rates are 3 times higher than browse.
And that's obviously a critical value and a critical metric for anybody operating these e-commerce sites and online presence, Valerie. That conversion rate and influencing that conversion rate is obviously going to be a key part of a business case in terms of considering investment in the site.
Definitely, because if we here benchmark the average conversion rates of an Amazon, for example, with the other averages that we see across the market, we can see that there's a huge difference. So you can see that Amazon has an average conversion rate which is about 5 times higher compared to other e-commerce websites, which speaks to the investment that they're doing in optimizing experience with recommendations across upsell, but also the search experience. Yeah.
Amazon's doing it. It's probably a good idea.
Exactly. So how have we seen the experience change over the last year? Well, Algolia has been in the market for about 11 years now. We had our big 10-year anniversary last year. So what we've seen change over the last 2.5 years, at least that I've been working for the company, is a few things. So we see that people are using more words to do a specific query, which means that it is way harder to act upon those individual behaviors of your consumers, because you cannot dive into all your analytics of all your different users and create rules manually to be relevant for all those different queries. So that is also something we call the long tail, which means that people are generally not using very common keywords. People can write very strange or odd things into the search bar to explain what they're looking for, which actually forms about 70 to 80% of your full search volume, which is a huge opportunity to be investing in with a more automated and in a more data-driven way, as opposed to doing things manually with an open source type of solution. And then the second part or point here is what we discussed already with Netflix, for example. We call it the Netflix or the Google experience, where really you're expecting to see a very personalized, relevant experience wherever on the app that you're going. Now, because we've spoken about a few things. So we've spoken about recommendations, about the search. Well, you want to be relevant across all those different areas. So whether someone's using the search bar, the flyout that you see, even if somebody doesn't perform search and they're just clicking on the search bar, you want it to be relevant for them. And as soon as they start typing, you need to have fast and relevant results across different types of content. So that can be recipes, that can be inspiration pages if you're a DIY retailer, for example. That could also be suggestions to guide the consumer to the result they're looking for. So if you're looking for bananas, or you're looking for banana as in the fruit, or you're looking for swim shorts with a banana print on it. So really guiding the consumer in the right direction. Another one is also on the home page. If somebody just opens up the app, essentially you don't want to have the same experience for all your different consumers, because you can imagine there's a lot of different segments, different persons that are looking for different things. A lady who has kids, well, she probably is looking for products related to her household. So things like diapers or baby shampoo, whereas an older man who doesn't have any kids in the house anymore, he might not want to be seeing those types of products. So really depending on the one-to-one affinity of the consumers, you want to have a personalized or an automated personalized experience. And that also goes for your category and lister pages, because a lot of people think, search, it's just a box, it's quite simple, but it goes beyond that as well. If someone clicks on the dairy category, for example, which types of milks or yogurts do you want to be pushing first? If you have a really big assortment, that can be quite challenging if you're doing that manually. And then the last part of it, that's recommendations. We already touched upon that a little bit, but these are typically placed on the bottom of a product page or on a checkout, where the aim is to, for example, if a product is out of stock, you're looking for a specific type of pasta to eat tonight. Well, if that pasta is out of stock, you want to have relevant suggestions for other types of pasta that are similar, or indeed on the checkout, if you want to increase your basket to get to that free delivery, for example, you want to have some suggestions on that area as well.
And Valerie and Algolia, you're really bringing all those things together, aren't you, in terms of basically going, it's not just about search functionality, it's all these capabilities and that complete experience.
Exactly. So it's what we call end-to-end customer experience in an omni-channel way. So whether that's online in the store, if people are using a loyalty card in the store, if they're then looking on the website, or they're performing a search on your website, you want to have a personalized, relevant experience across all the different touch points. So really beyond the simple search bar, as a lot of people call it. But what is really important there is, if we then hone in a little bit more on the search experience, a lot of the legacy search solutions, what they are doing, and they're in essence not bad search solutions, but they match a textual search to a title or any of the searchable attributes, which is not taking into account typos, for example, but also things like plurals, decompounding, little accents, or anything that goes beyond like the textual matching. So that is something that is quite critical, because what we've seen in the last year, there's a lot of large language models. There's things that being thrown at us, like vector search, semantic search. What they essentially all do is they're trying to go beyond the simple matching of a title and a description, and really understand now what is it that my consumers are looking for, to make sure that you don't need to do all of those things manually, but to be data driven and to really move from that matching to understanding your consumers across all the different touch points.
Valerie, I think the last time that you and I chatted, this was really a lights on moment for me in terms of going, here is the summary of the fundamental difference in terms of what you offer versus what we've typically seen in site builds and e-commerce implementations. That movement from just matching functionality to present something back that is then what the person is looking for, versus understanding the intention of the user and really then tailoring the experience to them. This is probably my favorite slide, apart from what you'll show later, to really go to people and go, if you're looking at how you deploy technology currently, and if you're looking at how you fundamentally influence the business case and the user experience, then this is what you're trying to do. You're going away from a functional capability to a know your customer and market on a one-to-one basis. So sorry for interrupting, but this is just one of those where I go.
I like that light bulb moment.
Absolutely. Sorry, thank you, Valerie.
Exactly, but I think you summarized that really well, because what matching does, matching is one of the components of your strategy, but it shouldn't be where the entire strategy revolves around. Because I think I have a little bit more slides to show you how the search market and technology has evolved, but we'll get to that in a minute as well. So we talked a little bit already about the long tail and how people use very specific or very unique words or queries to look for or to identify what they're looking for. What we see is a lot of the retailers, they've really focused on the fat head. So that means a few of the very common keywords. So that could be milk, that could be cucumber, tomato, and making sure that the experience is optimized on those type of keywords. Now, the thing is, this only makes up about 20% of the full traffic or all the searches that are being done across the website, while actually you need to be relevant across all of them. So across all the lister pages, but also across all the other searches that people are doing. And that's really the tricky bit here. Now, if we tie that back on how we've seen the search market evolve, and really tying that back also to from moving from matching to understanding, we can see that back in the 50s. So when computers were first brought to market, the technology was really focused on the typical keyword textual search. So what we see is that a lot of those legacy search solutions in the market today haven't really evolved much over the last 50 to 70 years, which is because in essence, it did its job quite well, right? So just matching the title to the searchable attribute or the keyword, what someone's looking for. Now, the problem here is that this is not optimized for today's dynamic experience. So it's not optimized for your e-commerce experience or from the expectations in the market today. Well, it did probably a pretty good job 70 years ago for the very basic requirements we had back then in the very old computers, a little bit before my time. But we can see that the market has evolved quite significantly. So we also, and what's interesting to notice is that this shift in the technology has only been happening the last 2 to 3 years, so to say. So really with moving towards more semantic and natural language understanding, things like voice search, but also using AI models built on top of those textual algorithms to really move to that more understanding of your users. And what hybrid means here. So hybrid means that you're still going to be looking at the keyword matching, but next to the keyword matching, you also have the AI capabilities to elevate that type of experience, to also look at vectors. For example, how closely related is the word cheese to dairy or to slices of cheese, or for example, to mozzarella. So these are all concepts that are quite closely related to one another. So what a neural search algorithm like Algolia's would do is that we would understand that mozzarella is related to cheese and that they're actually in the same type of range of products, so that we would be pushing similar items when someone is searching, and not only an item that has cheese in the title, for example. Now, what is the bottom line, and then what is the business case that we've made with a lot of these retailers? Well, I think this one shows it quite well. On average, we could see increases in conversion of about 30%. So as you can see, there's a lot of optimization and a big opportunity for growth here. This is a range of different types of retailers. So from the typical grocery retailers to more omni-channel, like a Decathlon in the sports category. But the trend is actually the same. So it's about increasing conversion, increasing click-through rate, average order value. And where that's coming from is really that optimization of the experience and being relevant, but also on the back end. So for the teams, making sure that people on the business team are able to make changes and have visibility into the ranking strategy, and are not just relying on the technical team to make changes on their behalf.
There's the business case straight away for the folks that might be watching this, is to go, it's not just about another cool capability. It's something that fundamentally impacts the commercial value of the site that you're operating. It looks at that conversion side, and you can easily walk away with that and go, well, if our current traffic and buying patterns look like the following, and this is the value that we have, based on an uplift in the conversions, what will my investment return be on something like Algolia, which again, for me, was one of the real key points that I'd seen in it, to go, we're not just talking about AI and tech, we're talking about a business case that is underpinned by that progression in the functionality and capability and the AI possibility.
Exactly. So if we dissect the average 30% that we see across our customers, there's 3 different growth paths that we see them take. So the first step is really taking out the existing search engine and just replacing it with another keyword engine. So that's really the first step. Even in that scenario where there's no AI built on top, we already see an increase in conversion from about 15 to 20%. Now, why is that? It's because we are typo tolerant across all languages. So no matter if that's Cantonese or Korean or any of the other languages across the world, we're able to be relevant for typos, but also plurals, decompounding, and really understanding the textual language. That's pretty key still. But also speed. So being able to return results in milliseconds, that all lives in that first scenario with an average conversion uptick from 15%. Now, in a second scenario, we see that people start to tweak results. The business teams have access to the analytics. They're creating rules, and they even have a merchandising dashboard where they can make changes. They can do a campaign. For example, if you have a collaboration with Coca-Cola and you want to push Coca-Cola to the top if people are looking for soda, these are things that you would typically do in a visual merchandiser environment. So those types of experiences, they elevate the experience with another 5 to 15% on average. And then the most fun part, and I think this is where a lot of the retailers, they want to jump to straight away, which is possible. But that's something where we as an Algolia can advise you on, together with partners as well, to say, okay, this could be the ideal scenario for you, even if it's flying straight away or going through a walk, run, fly scenario. But most fun scenarios obviously fly, where you're able to use personalization, we're able to track synonyms, we can understand trends. So in summer versus winter, there might be different types of products that are popular, but also doing recommendations, as I already mentioned. And on average, this increases conversion with another 10 to 15% as a ballpark figure.
They're the numbers that tell you what you should do. And Valerie, in your experience, and I'm sure the AI tag is something that people are going to latch onto and they want to get there. But in terms of a recommended approach and setting the foundation, is it something that Algolia really puts in front of customers as best practice to go start in the walk phase, progress to run, and then we'll take you into fly in a safe way?
Exactly. So we have different types of customers. We have the ones where, for example, they want to start very simple with one, simply the search bar and not using us on the lister pages yet, or not using recommendations yet. This then often builds out the business case for them internally to get additional budget based on the success that they're seeing, and trust as well to enroll us across other components of the websites. There's other use cases where people choose to go for a specific region or market. Imagine they're going into a new market and they want to use this as a test market for something like Algolia. That's another use case that we see. Or to enroll us simply on the keyword search and then moving us across with the AI components. So those are, three of the most common scenarios that we see. So where on the website do you want to be using us? Just search, or also recommendations and lister? Do you want to use us in a specific new market where you're going into? Or do you want to use simply the textual engine first and then move to AI? Or a combination of the three, yeah.
So there's a laid out plan that allows you to mitigate risk and essentially even look towards, depending on the scale of your site and the sales that you're doing through your digital channels, a potentially self-funding project here. You do the uplift in one and that provides you the investment for the next stage and the next stage after that.
Exactly. And it's also something where you can grow into, right? Like, you don't need to do the full-blown investment straight away. If you want to start small, as I said, with a smaller market, that's perfectly possible. It's something that we see quite commonly. But if you want to start with a fly scenario across all your markets, that's also possible. And that's definitely something where DVT and ourselves can advise you guys on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, how is that different from other solutions? I think we hinted upon a few of the key points already. So moving from textual matching to understanding. Within that algorithm and those components, there's three key benefits. So first of all, speed. So returning results in milliseconds across all the different experiences. If we look at what we did during Black Friday, for example, for Gymshark, well, we processed about 24,000 queries per second with 100% uptime. So really the performance side of things is quite critical there, but also being able to do changes in real time. So imagine even during a peak period, you have a change in stock levels or changes in pricing. You want those to reflect on the front end straight away, because you don't want to be pushing products to a consumer that are already out of stock, for example. The two other components are relevancy and control. So relevancy, I think that's quite clear. So being relevant for everyone, whether that's your grandmother going onto the website or your granddad, they might be looking for different types of things. And then lastly, control. So control both from a technical perspective, but also for the merchandisers. So someone in the technical team, they want to build out a new experience with image search, for example, or they want to move towards voice search. Well, these are things that they can bolt onto Algolia, because we're essentially an API. So you can build any type of experience that you want. And then also control for the business and merchandising teams. So with dashboards where they can get specific insights, test out a new strategy, do A/B testing, etc. Now, if we dive into a few of these components, this is a good example to show you the differences from a seasonality perspective. So what you can see on the left is, this was actually an example from King's Day back in the Netherlands. So King's Day is a national holiday in the Netherlands where people go out on the streets and they wear t-shirts and hats and leggings, for example. So you can see that on the left, this is a default ranking. So people were looking more for wool to knit a sweater, while during the King's Day celebrations, products were automatically boosted and dynamically updated based on the period that we were in. So they were looking more for t-shirts and leggings, for example. Now, to give you some more examples also on the speed, what we just showed, Lacoste could be a good example if you're looking for a shirt, for example, or a shirt with long sleeves. You can get all the results here in real time. Or if you're looking for a black shirt with long sleeves, Algolia is able to retrieve those results quite fast. So that is one thing. Another thing that we already discussed is taking content from different types of places in one single view. So what you can see here, if someone's looking for chocolate, for example, you can see the suggestions on the left, you can see the products in the middle, and then on the right, you can see recipes, ingredients, content articles, brands. So really making sure that whatever the information is, you're making it relevant and searchable from one single place at incredible speed. So as you see with every keystroke, results are being updated here.
So there's confidence in your product right there, Valerie. The fact that you've just taken us quickly into 2 real live demonstrations of the product in use on known brand sites. That's rather impressive.
Yeah, feel free to play with them a little bit or buy products from them, which I'm sure they will appreciate. But yeah, another example I wanted to show is around personalization, because I know this was a big topic when we spoke last as well. So what you can see here with iBuyDirect, they have a lot of different types of glasses. So sunglasses, prescriptive glasses. Now, myself, I don't wear prescriptive glasses, so there's no really any point in showing them to me. So based on my affinity, what I've clicked on, what I've converted on, these suggestions are being displayed to me. Then imagine I'm looking for a new Ray-Ban for my holiday. You can see then here the queries at the top. So am I looking for a Ray-Ban Wayfarer? And then the types of products that could be relevant for me, as well as FAQs here. How do I return my Ray-Ban? And then some recommended blog articles. Now, to show you that that looks quite different, let's go to an incognito window to show you the same thing. Can you still see the screen?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So if you click on the search bar here, this looks very different, right? So these are normal types of glasses. Also, the suggested queries at the top can be based on the behavior of queries of other consumers that are browsing. Now, if we do the same, we look for a Ray-Ban. These Ray-Bans that I'm being displayed or shown, they're much different than the sunglasses that I saw in the previous example, because this could be based on your margin, stock levels, any of the business metrics, or a campaign that this company has with Ray-Ban, for example. So really, even before performing a search, you want to be highly relevant for all the different consumers.
So I imagine, based on what you just showed us there, between incognito version versus then a identified user type setup, Valerie, understanding or at least having a good reflection of your typical user journeys that you want to influence on the site is probably a key component for successful implementation in this space, is it?
Exactly. So really trying to understand, like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Do you want to personalize the experience more? Do you want to show recommendations for that cross and upsell? And that's something where DVT and myself can help you with in identifying what's the ideal journey for you and for your customers, where are the gaps for the moment, and how should we fill them up?
Awesome.
Yeah. A last example I wanted to show is also around moving from textual matching to understanding. So this is actually quite a cool one. So for example, imagine you're looking for board games for Christmas. So what we see here is Santa is being shown as one of the first results. Now, the engine knows that Santa is related to Christmas, which could be one of the reasons why this product is being displayed, even though there's no Christmas mentioning in the title or in any of the descriptions. Now, another example could be looking for a board game to play with your family. Well, it probably understands that Twister is a game that you can play with multiple people, and that could be a good game to play with your family at one of the Christmas celebrations here. Now, another could be toys for outdoors, for example. You can see here that all these toys, for example, bubbles, well, I can imagine that you don't want to have those bubbles blown inside the house. but also things like water, sand, that could be related to the outdoors. So that could be one of the reasons why these products are being displayed here. Now, what will happen on the back end is that Algolia has a dashboard that, as opposed to the typical black box AI algorithms, you can see exactly why are these products being displayed here. Is it because sand is then related to a neural search match, or is that because at the top here is more of a keyword match because there's outdoors, for example, being matched in the title? So that's something where a merchandiser on the back end can see exactly what was the match. Was it neural, was it keyword, or was it a combination of the two?
That's always going to be a valuable insight for merchandisers themselves to go, right, so the engine's doing what it needs to do. How do I tweak that a little in order to get the outcome that I'm really looking for based on my knowledge, again, of the user journeys that I have facilitated or that I want to facilitate in terms of the site?
Exactly. And that's a good segue into the analytics, because what you see here is this is a typical analytics dashboard of Algolia where you can dive into the top searches, even the average click position, or you can compare different experiences like desktop versus mobile, for example, and even test out different strategies via A/B testing. So that means that a lot of the things will happen automatically so that you're able to operate in a data-driven way. And then next to that, you have the analytics, you have rules, merchandising to make sure that if you want to make any changes, if there's a specific campaign, if for Black Friday there's a specific product that you want to be highlighting, that you can do and that you have the flexibility to do so in the dashboard.
Valerie, there's a number of things that are showing up across your presentation that I'm sure are getting people excited to kind of go, great, it's moving from matching to understanding. There's an AI component in here that I can work towards. There's a solid business case for this. There's the ability to control and influence it from a merchandising point of view. I'm probably jumping ahead, but how would someone take that first step to get a closer look at it? Is there available demonstrations that people can tap into and take a look at?
Yeah, so with Algolia, you can just sign up to a free account. So what we could do, and please hit me up on LinkedIn or reach out to Carl or myself, but we're happy to walk you through that. So it's very, like, the barrier is quite low because you can essentially just open a sandbox environment, plug in some of your product data, and then try it out in real time, what the search and the recommendation engine could do for you. For recommendations, you can even, based on your product data, see what other products can be recommended. So if someone is looking for kiwi, they might also be looking for other types of fruit or other kiwis that could be suggested. So if you just upload some of your product data into a free demo environment, then we're happy to walk you through that. You're welcome to do so yourself as well. But yeah, the barrier there is quite low to test it out yourself.
Well, it's always a great proving tool for folks to be able to play with a bit and see what it does. And then if they get beyond that and they see that all of these things are playing out the way that they expect them to, Valerie, what does a typical implementation look like for a customer?
Yeah, so that depends on the complexity of the stack and also the resources on the customer side. And I would like to say also the implementation party that they work with. So we see typical implementations ranging from 4, 6 to 8 weeks, depending on that complexity. So if you have an environment where we have out-of-the-box integrations, then that could be faster. If it's more of a custom environment, then there might be a few additional weeks of work required. You can see here we have some out-of-the-box plugins for like a commerce tool, Shopify, Magento. But apart from that, Algolia offers all the API clients and the UI libraries. So even from a front-end perspective, you can go live quite quickly because we have those front-end components for iOS, React, for example, Android. So for all the different API clients and frameworks, we have all the components to get you up to speed quite fast. Now, a typical implementation consists of different steps. So you can see the 4 typical steps here. So first is sending your data. Second is tweaking the result. Then you build out the search UI. And then the last step is getting live, getting insights, and looking into the analytics.
Brilliant. So it's roadmapped and ready to go along with interactive tutorials to tell you exactly what to do.
Yes, the documentation is quite well. We even have competitors using our search for their docs. So that speaks for itself.
How to make your life easy and a great business case to go with it as well.
Exactly.
All right.
So
I guess one of the questions that we always like to pose to folks that are presenting technology solutions, Valerie, is so where are the pitfalls? What are the things that people need to look out for before they expect miracles? And yes, you deliver fantastic miracles once it's implemented, but what are the things that they really need to pay attention to before they get going with this?
yeah. So what I always talk about with my customers is that it's really important to understand, like, what is the status quo? Like, what is the current conversion rate? What is the current average order value? And what are the pain points? So is it that you're looking to optimize the AOV, or do you want to make sure that your consumers are getting more happy, so more about satisfaction? So really understanding what is the current state and what is the ideal state, so that you can measure also before and after. So to understand, what are the success metrics? If you go through an implementation with Algolia, what does success look like? That is something that's sometimes overlooked, where people get super excited and they just want to go live and they implement it. But it's really important to get the before and after as well, to understand like what has been achieved and to make sure that we match the business case that we discussed in the pre-sale stage. So that's really important, but also involving different stakeholders from different teams. Because at Algolia, we're often either talking to the business team or to the technical team, but they're all working closely together, right? Because the technical team, they do the implementation. The business teams, they want to be happy with the merchandising strategy. They want flexibility and visibility. So really making sure that all the different stakeholders are on the same page, that all their needs are being met, and that, we know what can be expected after go live.
And to that, I would always add, on the technical side, along with the business, is data preparation, is making sure that the quality of the data that you're going to provide to the platform is really complete and accurate in terms of what you're going to put in there. Otherwise, for results,
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit garbage in, garbage out. Well, the benefit is now with the whole neural search algorithm, what you saw here with the example with toys for Christmas, for example, where Santa showed up, that we're relying a little bit less on like consistency across the data, but still, like, I think also across all the different channels that you're working on, Algolia has only one component. It might be that you're also pushing products to a marketplace. So that's why, it's really important to have that data consistency and make sure that the data quality is quite good. Yeah.
And it's impressive stuff that we've seen so far. Here's the question that's the next to come, Valerie. What's in store for people beyond what's possible today?
Yeah. So we've seen last year a big move to more semantic, natural language understanding and large language models with ChatGPT, for example. What we see now for next year is that there's going to be a huge focus on hyper personalization, because 2 years ago it was more around segmented personalization. So using CDP tools, for example, to segment your users in different buckets and being able to cater to them via a more segmented, personalized experience. Now we're really moving towards that one-on-one hyper personalization, where if you're opening an app on your phone, or you're going into the stores, or you open the website online, that you get a relevant personalized experience. So that can be based on your previous purchase behavior, that can be based on clicks that you've done, that can be based on clicking on a newsletter and getting redirected to the website. So really all those different touch points and making sure that they're all personalized, as well as combining that with your own business metrics. So yes, you want to have a personalized experience, and we still need to have those people discover other products, not only the products that they've already bought, but also combining that with optimizing or making optimizations on the business backend. So things like stock levels, margin, and finding the optimal ranking cocktail. So that's something where we're now launching a new algorithm in Q1. Which is going to be helping more on optimizing the ideal ranking cocktail in a data-driven way. So I would say really one-on-one hyper-personalization, and then optimizing the ranking cocktail internally with things like margin, sales volumes, etc.
That's really exciting stuff. And I would imagine for retailers facing a tough competitive environment, if they're still sitting in that space where they're doing matching and they haven't even yet thought about the understanding on the customer side, they're going to be falling even further behind in the coming 12 months, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And it's perfectly fine to go through that walk, run, fly path. But it's good to have indeed your vision in mind and try to know what is it that you're struggling with today and what is it that you're trying to solve, and not just jumping on the AI train. Because I feel like a lot of conversations that I've had over the past months since ChatGPT are people that are wanting to jump on the AI train, but what do you want to solve exactly? So that's super important.
And super sensible too, exactly that. In consulting with a number of customers, they're all going, what can we do with this AI capability? And in this case, it's a very value tied and business positive impact that you can have. It's one of those real golden business cases to take a look at seriously and go, not for the sake of the technology, but for the sake of the outcome on the business bottom line. Here is a solid investment in technology that happens to progress into the AI space.
Exactly. And that also makes everyone's lives a little bit easier when it comes to getting approvals for a project like this, and to just have a clear business case.
Absolutely. All right, Valerie, as again, you've covered things amazingly well for us to gain that insight into Algolia and the benefits of Algolia. Any final thoughts or commentary that you'd like to just share with our users?
I think something that I wanted to add is that like everyone is on the same boat, or everyone is experiencing very similar challenges and very similar challenges. Because something that I often hear is that retailers think they are in a very specific spot with very specific challenges. Well, actually, the challenges that we see across those different retailers, like whether that's grocery or B2C or B2B, within that segment are quite similar. So that's definitely something where we can advise and take the learnings of what we've seen with other really big retailers that have made the jump already, and help you understand like what are the main challenges, how do you overcome them, what are the success metrics. So yeah, just to say like we hear you, we know other people are in the same spot. Everyone wants to do something with AI, but we're here to help you understand like why do you need to go there, what do you need to do to get there, and what's the success.
So from matching to understanding, find your customer at the one-to-one level, help create a greater uplift in the conversion rate. Those are the 3 check boxes that you should take away from the presentation from Valerie today. Valerie, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And again, I think presenting an amazing opportunity for those folks that are out there in the e-commerce space and operating the digital channel. It's been insightful. It's certainly compelling, and I'm sure people will want to be in contact with you. How do they get hold of you best?
Yeah, you can just reach out to me directly or via Carl, and then I'm happy to help you get set up or looking into a demo, as we said, with your own data, or just showing you some examples or listening to what are your ambitions. So either reach out to Carl or myself via LinkedIn, or over email. That's just valerie.waterschoot@algolia.com, and then we're happy to get connected with you.
We'll share those details as part of the video release of this recording. Valerie, again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you having done so.
Thank you, Carl. Have a really nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.